Welcome back. We're now into concatenation. This is one of my favorite words to say. It just sounds fun when you say it. Concatenation. Concatenacion. Right? It does sound like you're saying big words, like you know a lot of things about some things. Does anyone know what concatenation means in Latin? Actually, it literally means to combine together two things. Concatenating in Latin, in the literal Latin, really means to combine two things or more things together. It actually doesn't have anything to do with kitties, but I do like saying concatenation. When I first learned about concatenation, the person who taught me was from the Midwest, and I just love the way they said concatenation. So I say it like that all the time. You might hear me say that. Make fun of me. You're more than welcome to. Concatenation is a really cool, easy way to combine two things together, in particular strings. When you take two strings like this, like hello and world, and you concatenate them together, you get one string consisting of both of the two strings that were concatenated together. To concatenate, we use the plus sign, just like this. Now notice how the author here corrected himself, how he doesn't have a space between hello and world, and the output also has no space. That is correct. Notice how also you can combine things like a string and a number, and what happens here? It automatically turns a number into what? Into a string. This is actually called implicit conversion, and we'll talk more about that later. Implicit conversion. Now, the cool thing about this developer, Drew, is he does a really good job of showing a couple different scenarios in which concatenation would be useful. But JavaScript is really funky. Let's look at some weird examples of how concatenation works. You ready? So in my console, I'm going to type in a few different little combos here, concatenation combos. We're going to see what you guys think is going to happen. So I'm going to type in hey plus there, and we should get a string that says what? Hey there. Okay, cool. Now I'm going to try this. Hey plus, plus 3. What should I get? Hey space 3. Okay, this is cool. Let's try this. What about 1 plus 1? What am I going to get here?
1, 1.
That's right. Okay, good. So we're cool with this, right? So far?
Yeah.
Now let's look at some interesting situations. What happens when I put something like hey plus true? Hey true. Okay. How about this? How about 1 plus true? 1 true, you might think? We get 2. What? What is going on here? Okay, let's try something else. Let's try true plus true. What should I get? I get 2 again. Does anyone know why? Here's a good way you can figure it out. You ready? What's false plus true?
0.
It's going to be 1. That's correct. What's false plus false?
So true is
False plus false is
0.
0. What do you think false, if you put number like this and then put false inside it, what are you going to get?
0.
0. If you put number and then you put true inside it, what are you going to get?
False is 1 and true is 0.
False is 0 and true is 1. Now this cool thing I just did right here, number, is an explicit conversion. And we can actually use this for anything. If I say something like number and then I put 1 inside there plus 1, what should I get? Is it going to be 1, 1 or is it going to be 2? 2. Because when you put the function number, capital number, and you put an actual number in there and a string, it'll convert it into a number for us. But if you do something like this, 5 plus 5, we have an implicit conversion of 5 into a string like this. And it's a little bit funky if you don't know what's going on here. You can also do the same thing. You say something like 7 plus, and we could say something like string 7 plus heaven, right? What are you going to get here? Yeah. Or you do something like string 1700, or sorry, let's go number. 1700 plus 48. What am I going to get here?
1748.
1748. Thank you, Cody. Yeah, exactly. Y'all with me here?
Yeah.
So you can see a couple of the cool different things we can do by converting between different data types and getting different things, right? So concatenation is really useful. You'll see it happen all the time in JavaScript. Okay, let's get to the trickier stuff, and then we're going to write a little more code. I want everyone to go ahead and read comparison operators, and we'll talk about when they might be useful next. We have 2 more sections to get through. So go ahead and read and highlight this guy right now, and then we'll get back to it in a minute. So before we go into comparison operators, I want you guys to scroll down to the very bottom, and I want you to also read the section on conditions, because we're actually going to use these in conjunction in the next section. So read the section on conditions also, highlight, annotate, and we'll come back in about 3 to 5 minutes. Cool? Go for it, write me out. I'll see you guys in a sec. So before I go back to comparison operators, let's take a look at conditions. Conditions are how we make our code smart. This is known as control program flow. Control program flow, or program control flow, whatever you want to call it, is basically saying it's allowing our code to make decisions based on the outcome of these little conditions inside the parentheses. We designate conditions by using if, else if, and else inside our code. Now, these are really cool because it can make certain things happen depending on if the user interacts with your code, or if the user has a different name or age or anything like that. You can make different things happen in your programs. It's really cool and it's really useful, but you have to enter comparison equations, which involve numbers, strings, and then a computational operator in the middle, like a less than sign or a greater than sign inside the parentheses following an if or an else if. And this says if whatever is in here evaluates out to true, run this little block of code. Otherwise, if whatever's in here evaluates to true, run this little block of code. And if neither of those are true, if everything is false, run this little block of code. Okay? Now, to understand this, you have to have a good idea of how these computational operators work. So let's go back up a little bit to the comparison operators right here. And let's take a look at the different comparison operators we're given. Now, before I told you about the equal sign, right? Which sets a value to a variable. We also have a double equal sign. What does the double equal sign do? It checks to see if 2 things are the same. But we call this the loose equality operator. And this one down here is the strict equality operator. I tell my students almost always to use the triple equal sign when comparing 2 values. And I'll show you why right now. Say, for instance, we were to type into our console 12 triple equals 12. What are you going to get? True. If we were to type in 12 double equals 12, we also get true. But what if we were to type in 12 double equals the string 12? Is that going to be true or false? With the double equals, it's actually still true. But with the triple equals, it's false. This is, again, implicit conversion. It implicitly converts the string 12 into a number when you use the double equal sign. So just to make sure you're not confusing yourself, I tell my students almost always, just use the triple equal sign, and we'll figure everything else out later on. Cool? So yeah, and for the time being, just use the triple equal sign, and you should be good. There's a couple other comparison operators that we'll use. This one right here means does not equal. So the string hello does not equal the number 5, true. We can also use greater than, less than, greater than or equal to, less than or equal to. 5 is greater than 2. 10 is true. 10 is less than 2, false. 10 is greater than or equal to 10, true. 8 is less than or equal to 12, false. So, in theory, this is like, okay, whatever. But when you start using it in your code, it makes awesome things happen. You ready? Actually, I'm going to go back in your Cloud9. I'm going to wrap up this video for here. And in the next video, we're going to see how we can use comparison operators to make awesome things happen. Cool? All right.